being said?
I think we have to recognize clearly that bombs are falling on innocent children, adults, seniors, being launched from the Israeli military. We need to recognize that.
But the Prime Minister, are you saying the Prime Minister isn't recognizing this? Because he is talking about
I'm
the
not
humanity.
saying that, no.
But what should
Yesterday,
Canada do?
if I'm, the day before yesterday, the Prime Minister gave a 12-minute address in the House of Commons. And he said clearly that international law must be respected by each and every party, including Israel. There are Geneva Conventions. I myself was a soldier in the Canadian military. I was trained in the Geneva Conventions. There are rules to war.
Do you think Israel's breaking those rules?
I know that civilians are dying.
Do you think Israel's
And
responsible?
if I was behind an artillery cannon and I knew this would fall on hospitals and schools, I would not push that trigger.
So you believe that Israel launched the attack on the hospital yesterday?
I'm not saying that attack, but there have been about 20 hospitals that have been hit during this strike. This war, butchery, is what it is. We have to understand the numbers that we're dealing with. 1 out of 500 people. When are we going to stop this? Look at the House of Commons. If you have one member killed out of that chamber, how will this chamber, this country, react? I'm not going to claim to have the grand solutions, okay? But I'll say that everybody in the region has to work together to create a viable Palestinian state. Until that happens, nobody in the region will have peace and security, unfortunately. Both Jews, Palestinians, and Arabs. There will be, unfortunately, we know this intellectually, nobody, regardless of faith background, will have peace and security in the region. This has been going on for 75 plus years. You know, I'm not gonna stand here and say exactly what the government should be saying, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Prime Minister. I think you have to ask those questions to the appropriate people. But my duty, I've said it right now. I've shared it right now. There is a humanitarian disaster happening. We are all people, we're all humans. We have to recognize this.
Vous avez dit qu'il faut nommer les choses. Est-ce que Israël commet un crime de guerre, des crimes de guerre?
C'est une bonne question. On doit poser la question. I was not even aware when standing here about the numbers of people dead. You told me 4 to 5 million. I'm just saying, you guys are journalists. You're on top of this issue. I don't have the full facts in front of me. You know the numbers better than I do. So for me to answer this question, I can't answer these types of questions without the full details in front of me. These are serious legal questions, questions of law and fact. I don't know exact number of people that have died. I know that it's massive. I know this is not the end. We are only just buckling up our seatbelts. What does that mean? We buckle our seatbelts and 1 out of 500 people are dead. At what point does this nightmarish car ride end? How many passengers are going to die? Because people at the wheel aren't holding it properly. Our government and myself have been extremely clear that Hamas's attacks were abhorrent and caused this moment we're in, escalated the situation. There were deaths before happening. Make no mistake. 200 Palestinians had died within the last year. So we can't make, we know that these are facts. These are facts. We live in a democracy. Freedom of expression, association are enshrined in the Charter. These are Charter rights. We also have limits, legal limits on freedom of expression. Legal limits. It's important for Canadians to express themselves. That debate might be rambunctious, it might be challenging, it might be uncomfortable. That's completely legitimate. Discomfort in debate, it's part of the rules. It's part of the conversation. But there are bounds beyond that. So in principle, I support the idea that people can express themselves on the streets, in the halls of power, in civil society. And while people are doing so, it is critical that people understand the limits. My own sister-in-law was going to school, bringing my niece, 9-year-old niece, to school. She was accosted on Monday. 2 people gave her the middle finger, different people, not in the same group. They followed her. She did not make it, neither did her daughter make it to school that Monday, this Monday. That is unacceptable expression of speech. Unacceptable expression of speech. Why did that happen to her? She's the only member of my family that is visibly Muslim if you look at her. I've been to Jerusalem and the West Bank and to Israel. I've been to the region. I spent 2 weeks there. That was 5.5 years ago. I went there through a bridge building between Jews and Muslims. Jews within the mainstream of Israeli society, not in the fringes, on the mainstream, within the mainstream of Israeli society. What I saw while I was there 5.5 years ago, in a time of peace, there was a tension in the air. Jerusalem is a beautiful city. There's spirituality, people, 3 different peoples, 3 different faith groups seeking the same thing, spirituality. And there's a tension in the air. Both are currents moving throughout the city at the same time. But what I noticed while there, that there were few people who were standing together, bringing society together. Few. It's very difficult in these times of stress and tension. And people don't like me talking about this sometimes, because people just want to hear themselves validated. He said, she said, they did, this person did, that group started, didn't. This date, these numbers, hospital destroyed by so-and-so. This, for me, these are questions that should be debated. But we need to have people who are courageous, who lean into the conversation, right? Not like wrecking balls, but lean into the conversation and take the hits and are nudging it in the right direction.
Is that what you're trying to do today?
100%.